Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the great Kyle Rovinsky. He's been on the top realtors list for 2 decades. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I came to Dallas in 1992 to work at Fox 4, and one of the first people I meet is this wonderful guy named Kyle Rovinsky. I mean, who doesn't like him? He produced for Mike Doocy for many years and watched the Cowboys win Super Bowls. You're going to have to Google that. It was a while ago. But then he made a bold move into entrepreneurship, and he became a very successful realtor. And so I've watched his career from afar for many years, and that's why he's on the show right now. We're going to talk about excellence with the great Kyle Rovinsky. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me. It's really great to be here.
Well, and I love it that we're both now former journalists, because that served a purpose in our lives for many, many years, and we were, we got a lot of gratification. But I can't imagine, working in TV news anymore. It's not the same as it was when we were there.
Right. When I was growing up, it was your goal was you wanted to be Howard Cosell or you wanted to be Chris Berman.
Yes.
And that person doesn't exist anymore. It's not broadcasting anymore. It's narrowcasting. And it just doesn't have the same appeal that it once did.
So, we all get to the top of the little hill or mountain we're climbing. And I think when you left Channel 4, we were maybe the 5th largest market. We're now the 4th largest market, soon to be the 3rd largest market. That had to be scary. Why did you decide to leave?
It was just, I wasn't, the man that I replaced when I got hired at Channel 4 in 1990 was a 59-year-old man who was making $55,000 a year. And it's really a young man's business when you're working behind the camera, because you don't get paid a lot, but you get a lot of perks.
Yes.
Then the second you realize that it's time to kind of start a family and start the next step in your life, I noticed that everybody in the building was married to somebody else in the building.
Yes.
And it seemed like it was very limiting in your life options. And there was no way I could lead the life I wanted to live by being a sports producer.
Well, you're an outgoing guy, and you have to be outgoing to be successful in journalism, because you're calling Jerry Jones when you're contacting these world-renowned figures. How did that journalism experience play out in your real estate career?
Well, the main thing, the skill set that translates is when I'm marketing a home, it's almost like writing a 30-second VO.
Yeah.
You have to be concise. You can't waste a lot of time. And in this day and age, when people's attention spans, what did I say, 30-second VO? Now you're lucky to get 12 seconds.
Right.
And you have to learn how to write in a concise style that is still very punchy and entertaining. And I feel like that was the best transition of skills from industry to industry.
And Kyle is a brilliant marketer. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Let's go ahead and pull up your website. And as we scroll down the website, let's talk about some of your current listings. I guess you could sell a home in all price ranges.
Right. I sell all. I think in 2024, I had 17 transactions and I think 31 different zip codes. I'm everywhere. This year I helped a young couple buy a house in Howe, Texas, just south of Sherman.
Wow.
I had a listing just south of I-30 in Buckner Terrace. I say that I'm a client-centric realtor. I've lived here all my life, 57 years of driving the same highways and roads. Yes. Now, some of them have changed from 2-lane blacktops going through cotton fields and cattle ranches to bustling metropolitan centers, but I still am very familiar with what goes on. And I love this area. If you ask me to give you one adjective to describe myself, I'm a North Texan. I'm a Dallasite. It's what I know.
And to be successful, you can't be after like the quick buck. You're really thinking about, I want to not only get them into this home, but if they decide to downsize one day, I want them to use me. And you were just telling me before the show that you're actually doing some work with the children of some of your original clients.
Right. And one of the crutch phrases that prospects use with me before they become clients is talking about selling their house or about buying a new house. They're like, Kyle, I'm not in a hurry. I want to find the right fit for me. And it's not uncommon for me to work with a local buyer for 12 to 15 months before they find the right house. And then you see a lot in the recent real estate industry, a lot of realtors out there got their license in 2020, 2021, during and after COVID, when what I describe as the fish were jumping into the boat. And they were like, oh, this is easy money, and I've got to get my hands on this. Now those people are going back to other careers because they realize how difficult and time-consuming this industry is and how much patience you have to have.
And it's probably healthy for the market to have occasional downturns because, like you point out, that person who watched $1 Million Listing and said, oh gosh, this is going to be easy, those they wash out, don't
they do. And it's like the old, do you remember the movie Wall Street with Bud Fox? The Hal Holbrook character says, I make money in bull markets, I make money in bear markets, I've been here forever. And then the people that come in and try to make the quick bucks are the ones that go back to their middle management jobs.
Well, I love your TV background has helped you become a brilliant marketer because you create amazing videos. Here's one of my favorites. Well, so this reminds me of the power of personal branding. I often will tell a client, if you're a very successful realtor with Ebby for 20 years in McKinney, which is a large town but still a small town, and then suddenly you jump to Remax, what's more important, the Ebby brand or the Remax brand or your personal brand?
It's the personal brand that carries you and gives you the ultimate longevity of success. The brokerage gives the agent support. And a great analogy that I use all the time because I'm all about sports, Derek Jeter was the shortstop for the Yankees when they had their great World Series runs. He comes out every day and he puts on the Yankee uniform, but if he plays for the Yankees or he plays for the White Sox or he plays for the Rangers, he is still the best shortstop in baseball.
Amen.
He just has a different broker. And that's kind of the way that I explain it to people.
Well, and there's a whole Luca discussion that we won't go into, right? It's still too fresh. Let's talk about your blog page because we're both excellent freaks. And when we pull up your blog page, I noticed that you have a lot of stuff about hamburgers. So share this story because you have triplets and you were sharing a story with me before we went on the air.
So my blog, I've been criticized and lauded for it because it's kind of irreverent related to area real estate. I will tell real estate stories that other realtors are kind of scared to tell, you know, kind of how the cow eats the cabbage related to certain client relationships. And then I also like to do things that, you know, are a little bit more entertaining. I was blessed, my wife and I were blessed with triplet sons who now have just turned 17 years old.
Incredible.
And one of my favorite things is just spending as much time as I can with all three of them. And I'm blessed that they're still 17 years old and they still talk to me.
Love that.
So one morning they woke up and they said, "Hey, Dad, we want to go to Five Guys for hamburgers for lunch." And I said, "No, you don't. You don't want to go to Five Guys. That's just low-hanging fruit." I said, "I need to teach you about the glorious histories of cheeseburgers in North Texas." And so we started making a list of restaurants that have been in business for at least 30 years with a single location or maybe two or three, but no franchises.
Yes.
And the other key component was the cheeseburger at the time we started had to cost less than $8.
Got it.
Because there are a million places out there now that charge $22 for a hamburger.
Right.
And that's not a reasonable solution either. So since we started doing this Thanksgiving of 2022, I think we've been to 32 different cheeseburger restaurants in North Texas. And the boys can pick up a hamburger now, take one bite, and they're like, "This isn't a top 10, or this isn't as good as such and such."
Okay, what did you, going to 32 different places, and you shared with me, you know, you don't have a problem with driving up to Jacksboro, which is almost to Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
What did you learn about excellence from watching these, you know, craftsmen and women?
Okay, so the run-of-the-mill cheeseburger is a hamburger patty that's processed by a food delivery company. And I'm not going to mention any names, but it's already made into a patty, and it's very uniform in size and shape, and they throw this hockey puck onto the grill, and then they just kind of mash it out. The great ones will blend their own meat. They'll form their own patties. They have proprietary relationships with small batch bakers to get amazing buns.
Wow.
They have produce that comes in every morning, and they're going through the crates of vegetables, picking out the best ones.
Wow.
And just the way that it's assembled, a lot of the hamburger that I've learned and the boys have learned, it's the actual architecture of the hamburger. It shouldn't be any wider than 4 inches, and it shouldn't be any taller than 3 inches. And if you get one of these crazy hamburgers that has a knife stuck in the top of it to hold it together, that's a great show. But how do you eat that thing?
Right.
And it's not, I mean, you got to take it apart to eat it. And that's not what we're looking for.
No, I think Martin Luther King famously said, if you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper so that all the angels in heaven bow down and say, there goes a great. So if you're gonna be in the burger business or the real estate business, do it with excellence.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about the real estate market because as we're taping this, I think correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to show some video of DFW homes. We've switched into from a seller's market to a buyer's market, or tell me where are we right now?
It's still robust. Okay, so starting with COVID in 2020, we had exponential value increase in existing real estate. Now the market, it's not going up exponentially, it's flat, but it's still holding its value from all of the gains over the last 5 years.
Yes.
I ran a market study for a client, and this is a specific neighborhood for 0 lot line homes at Northwest Highway and Midway Road. The inventory level for available listings compared to what has sold in the last year was 8.8 months worth of inventory. NAR educates the realtors that 7 months of inventory is what's considered a healthy market. There is no advantage for the buyer. There's no advantage for the seller at 7 months. When the bubble burst in 2008,
Yes.
the summer of 2010 was the nadir of real estate values. And during that time, there was anywhere from 14 to 18 months of inventory on the market. During COVID, from 2021 to the end of 2022, it was routine that there was less than 2 months of inventory. And that's why houses were selling with multiple offers. A buyer felt like they were just lucky to be able to see a house, and they didn't want to lose it, and that's what caused the hyper competition. So 8.8 months is not desolate, but it's also not as robust as it was 3 years ago.
Sure.
And when houses are priced right, they still sell more quickly.
And Kyle, I can't think of a better real estate market than North Texas, because something like 100,000 people move here every single year, so they need a place to live. So the supply is still fairly tight, and prices are still robust.
It is. Yeah, it's a brisk market out there. What has to happen, though, I tell people that they are responsible for their own frustration. So when I'm working with a seller, and let's just use a round number, every piece of data in this market study that I just did for you says your house should sell for $1 million. So what should you do if you want to disconnect the buyer's brain? List it for $997,000. And then a buyer's like, this is the best of the bunch, and you're the first apple picked.
There you go.
Well, Kyle, we want to list it for $1.2 million. Well, what you're doing is you're creating your own frustration, because let me show you, Mr. Seller, there are 15 other houses within a 1 mile radius of your house that are also for sale. And when a buyer comes in and perceives your property as being overpriced, you are forcing them to go look at all of the other houses. And then the other agent needs to send us a thank you note. Thank you for selling my house, because comparatively their house was a better value at condition than your house was, being 20% overpriced.
I want to, in the final 2 minutes, I want you to spend some time talking about customer service, because you're passionate about really listening to your customer and not trying to jam them into a home that they don't really want. Talk about the importance of listening.
I love to listen to the stories of my client, and my business practice is based a lot on the great sales mentors from history: Earl Nightingale, Stanley Marcus, and in this particular piece I'm about to give you is Zig Ziglar. And Zig had a famous paradigm called a give, give, get. You have to give a client 2 pieces of value before you ever ask for anything in return. And I love sharing my experience. I love sharing my product knowledge. And then I want that prospect to determine whether or not I'm the agent that they want to work with. And I get phone calls from friends from across the country. Kyle, we're thinking about selling my house. There's this one realtor who's young and hungry. There's this other realtor that feels like they've established dominance in the neighborhood. Who should I pick? And I always tell them, I go, the best realtor out there is the one that's going to answer your phone calls. Because there's a lot of realtors out there. There's a lot of name brand, giant team realtors in North Texas that, oh, I signed with such and such. And then they'll come to me 6 months later and they'll say, Kyle, I'm sorry, we signed with such and such. We met her the first day she signed the listing agreement, and we never saw or heard from her or him again.
Yeah, again,
And
right.
it was all their minions, and everything was arduous. And then we never started hearing from her or him again until the listing was about to expire, and that person was begging us to extend the listing. Wow. And so it's just important to be available.
Kyle, you inspire me, and thank you for really. I see road signs along my journey, and you were one of the road signs. When you left TV news, I said, there is life after news, and getting to see you at our country club, and I can see how. What a great dad you are. So thank you for sharing your heart and your wisdom.
Thanks for reaching out, and it's so great to catch up, and we could fill a book with our war stories from the newsroom back in the 90s.
We sure could. Okay, we're going to end with his website, which is rovinskyhomes.com. The great Kyle Rovinsky. Thanks for coming on the show. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.